Seriously, some of the work is just amazing that I'm receiving from the students. Morning, morning.
Good morning.
Hello. So now I'm just letting you know that we are recording, if you don't mind, so I can send it to you all and you can check the class. Today, our session, let me just first share with you my screen. Okay, so today we have 2 units. As we said, oh, okay, sorry about that. Don't know what happened. Let me open it. So we have unit 313, part of the unit, and part of unit 313. 313, 315. The rest of the unit you will do it as a reflective account. So I'm going to send you all the reflectives in one go, and we will discuss it and do it together in one go. So today is, let me check. Sorry, just 1 second. Let me allow people in. Okay, so have you had a look at our unit today? Our unit is a 313, support children with additional needs. Okay, so first question, it says define the terms biological and environmental. So what's the difference between the special needs for the children in terms of biological and environmental? So I'm just going to, where is unit 13? This one? No, this is 15. Sorry, just 1 second. Okay. So here we go. This is unit. Where? Okay, so what's the difference between biological and environmental? Let me. Can you all see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. Can anyone tell me what's the difference?
Maybe
so what's additional needs anyway?
Additional needs is when children have special condition,
Yes.
like disabled or something like that.
Very good.
From my
so they either, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, biological, it's when children were born as the children have special education, special needs. When they were born like that, like earth problem or ice problem. Environmental, I think, when the environment affects them, like gradually with age, they will have needs. For example, language or something.
Excellent. That's perfect. As a start, additional needs mean that the child has got certain type of disability, medical condition, even medical condition considered as additional needs because they need extra support, extra help to develop. So you see the children in the same age group, they don't develop in the same way. Some of them develop slower, some of them fast. So if they develop slower, maybe there are some additional needs. Maybe they need extra support from us. So that what meant by additional need. So we have biological and we have environmental. So biological is mean it's a affect the children development by natural things, by factors presented at birth. So, and this will affect the child later on. This, as you see here, include include so many things. Maybe they all genetic. So the children will inherit this from their parents, and the children will grow later on having these disabilities or these medical conditions. Also, we have environmental. So the child develop either positively or negatively, depends on many factors around them in the environment, their lifestyle, the parents, how they treat them, the nature, so many things can affect the development of the child. Okay, so all these factors, whether, for example, the way that the family treat the child, the sibling, the parent style, all these, the family religion, all these could affect the child development. Go now a little bit further. It says analyze the impact of biological factors on the children's development. So what's the impact of these biological factors on the child development? Could you tell me what was the impact of the biological factors on the child development?
Example, one child has a allergic some of flowers. Maybe they can breathe harder.
Very good. So as you can see here, one of your colleagues, yes, any medical condition would affect the child's life, maybe negatively, if they have breathing condition, if they have a chronic disease, if they have so many illnesses, or asthma, all this would affect the child's development. So if you go here to table 313, number 1, you can find all these biological factors and how it affects the child development. Okay, so first factor, biological factors, which is chronic medical conditions like epilepsy, asthma, all these diabetes, all these can affect the child development. And how this affect the child development? What's the potential impact? So the potential impact, can you tell me what the potential impact? Let us say the child has got asthma, okay? And they don't go to school all the time. Why? Because he can't breathe. He can't really communicate. He can't talk. So he stays at home for a few days or a few weeks.
They can make an exercise.
Exactly, they wouldn't be able to do exercises. Maybe they would stay at home for a quite long time to recover. Then that would affect his study because he will fall behind. Also, their self-esteem will be affected because the child wouldn't be happy that he's a little bit different from anyone else. Why everyone doesn't have this asthma or the chronic disease while he does have it. So also the drugs the child taken maybe affect his concentration, affect his life. So all this is a potential impact on the child development. How the environmental factors may impact on the child. So in the earlier setting, schools, they all aware that the child could be absent sometimes. Why? Because if they have this asthma or the chronic disease, they wouldn't be able to attend all the times. So they will be absent. and then therefore they would need more time to catch up with any other children. They need more attention, more support from the school, from the teachers, from the nursery assistant. Yeah, so that's the impact. And also there is the parents of the child, also the professionals. They will be working together to empower this child to put his or her self-esteem up, try to help them with everything they can. So that would be a positive approach to how this effect could how this would affect the child development. Also, there are some other factors like learning difficulties. So the child might have Down syndrome. They might have autism. So all this would affect the child development. How it affects the child development? How was the potential could happen? Yeah, could you tell us how this might affect the child development? Which is the learning difficulty.
They are able to improve their skills slowly. Or maybe they couldn't, how can I say, couldn't concentrate his job.
Very good. Yes, very good. So because what we say in here, it says analyze the impact of the biological factors on the children. So what was the impact of this? So if I go here up, sorry, this is the potential impact, and this is how the environmental factors impact. So at the start, we will talk about the potential impact. So if the child has got difficulty, let us say he's got Down syndrome, autism, all this. So what's the potential impact? That the children may have low self-esteem. They may feel less confident. They may feel different from others, which doesn't help at all with their development. Also, children may be rejected by other children. They think, oh, this child has got asthma, he wouldn't be able to run with us like we do. Then maybe we don't want him in a group. So he will be rejected by other children, and that will impact on his social life, social skills in the school. How about the environmental effect? There is all these additional support is given to the child will maximize the learning opportunities. So we will give the child more support to maximize their learning opportunities. Without us helping the child to develop, they will fall behind. So what we should do, we should give them extra support, extra help to maximize their potential, their opportunities. And also we need to follow the inclusive environment. We have spoken before about the inclusive environment, which means we need to create certain activities, certain events which suits everyone rather than like we do an activity which doesn't help everyone. And not everyone can involve in it. So we need something to be inclusive. So include everyone. So an inclusive environment is created which support the child's self-esteem, this child's social development. The child wouldn't feel that he's less than any other people. Why other children? Why? Because he can play with them. This activity is good for everyone, so they can play with it with the rest and can enjoy it just like anyone else. Also, we have physical impairment or disabilities, example deafness or sight problems. All this is another physical problems that a child may suffer from. So what's the potential impact on a child? Obviously, like your colleague said, it's lower self-esteem. They will feel different. They will feel not happy about themselves. And also the children maybe miss out on learning opportunities, because if they can't hear, if they can't talk properly, if they can't see properly, they would miss on so many learning opportunities. Many resources they might not be able to use. Like, for example, if it is just a normal book, maybe it's too small writing, and then he wouldn't be able to read it. Maybe if they have speech difficulties, maybe, or hearing loss, he may not be able to take part in the class. So all this is the potential impact on the child. How we can help the child? We can make adjustment to maximize their potential. We can influence their learning, bring more resources, something they can read, bigger font, bigger, or something they can touch so they can read it. We provide also we can involve some professionals in their learning. We can ask the professionals about how to deal with the child's difficulties, so we can help them. And also the children, they need to be empowered, so we can encourage them. We can help them to make choices rather than enforce something on them. That will build their self-esteem. Also, for us as an adults, we need to recognize these difficulties for the child. We need to help them in a way that they can be taken part of in our activities, no problem. So we need to help them develop, focus on each child as an individual, and try to do the best for them. Yeah. Now it says analyze the impact of the environmental factors. So now we need to go back. This is all genetic. So this is all they're all biological factors. Now we need to think about the environmental factors, which is table 2. So can you think about some of the environmental factors for the child and how it impacts their learning, and what we can do to help them?
Can't get involved
Okay.
in the group.
Yes.
He will have difficulties to build the relationships and make friends.
Yes, but what are these factors? Like, what the environmental factors could affect the child development? Can you think about some of these factors? So first of all, we have cramped living conditions, or when they have no outdoor. So if the child is stuck in a very small, let us say, studio flat with so many siblings, they don't have a garden, they don't have a balcony, they don't have any outdoor area. This is environmental factors would affect the child development. How would this affect the child development? Can we think?
For example, space, if there is no enough space, then you can,
So can you say again?
I mean, space is very important to develop his physical skill. Right.
Exactly. If they don't have the garden to run or any outdoor areas, that will affect their physical development. So the child becomes frustrated, feel unwanted, because he can't make friends. He's just sitting in that a small studio flat with so many siblings. He can't go out, no garden, no balcony, physical development will suffer, he will feel frustrated, unhappy, he wouldn't be able to build his physical social relationships with the other kids. Also, we have another environmental factors, which is poor diet. So if the child wouldn't have enough good food resources, let us say they just eat everyday chips and beans, or any other type, because they are poor, for example. So the child growth and health may be affected. So the child, obviously, they need milk, they need meat, they need all these protein. If they don't have a good diet, because their parents do not have time to organize their diet, or maybe they are too poor to do so, then the children might find it hard to concentrate. They find it hard to grow, to function very well. They wouldn't have the energy to run, to do all these physical activities. So definitely their learning will be effective. Also, we have attachment with parents. So how that affect the child? This could be either positive or negative. Maybe some of the parents, maybe they are over controlling. They will that will affect the child development. They would be saying to him, for example, don't go, don't do this, don't. So the child wouldn't be able to do any physical activities, wouldn't be able to make any social be social
Yes.
with other kids. So that will affect their child, their development. Or could be positive effect. Why? Because if the child has got good relationship with his parents or her parents, the parents, this child will be having a better self-esteem. The parents will be encouraging him to do things, would be praising him, would be giving him extra responsibilities, making him feel good, or make her feel good about herself. So all this might affect the child positively. So it depends on the way the attachment is being. Also, we have parenting style. So what's the parenting style? As well is either positive or negative. So the parenting could be, the parent could be very aggressive to the child, and that would affect the child. Why? Because he will feel unwanted, unhappy, unsatisfied. While if they were really kind, yeah, exactly, would be very emotional. While if the parents were very kind to the child, they will develop faster, they will be happier, positive. So it depends on the parenting style. So all this is here where it says analyze the impact of the environmental factors. So now we have analyzed the impact of the stage of development on children's learning. So what's the impact of stage of development? So let us go. Analyze the impact of stage of development 3 point. Can you tell me what's the impact of a delayed stage of child learning on the child development? So what's this impact the child if he's not developing as he should be? Say again.
He will be behind comparing with peers, and the development.
Okay. Yes. So if the child has got delayed in their learning, how that would affect their development. So for example, if the child has got physical physical development delayed, yes, so he can't run like anyone else, he can't move like anyone else, maybe he's wheelchair bound, all this, what this would affect
It will affect his health. He
Mhm.
may be overweight.
Mhm.
Yes, the ability to run and play like other kids, chase ball. It will
Yeah,
affect
and which area of development will be affected? First of all, he would have the opportunities to explore new resources, new things that will be affected. Yes?
Yeah.
Also, the opportunities to learn self-care, because this child will be independent on a carer. They wouldn't be like this child, for example, wouldn't be able to go and just to the bathroom, grab toothbrush and toothpaste and brush his or her teeth. They need their mother or their parent to go and grab it for them because they can't reach it. So this area of development will be affected. First of all, self-care. Also, their okay, so this area will be affected. Hello, good morning. Good morning. Okay, yeah, so let us go back again. So the question, where is it? For 1.4, it says analyze the impact of the stage of development on the child learning. So let's go here. First of all, physical development. So how this, if the child has got delay in their physical development, how this would affect him or her. First of all, they would have less opportunities to self-care, as we said. Why? Because this child will be independent. Second thing, they will have less opportunities to to develop their social skills. Why? Because this child may be not able to join other children to play certain games. Also, they would have delayed or less opportunities to explore new things, new material, new texture, because maybe they can't see, maybe they can't smell, maybe they can't touch. So all this would affect their development. Another stage, we have area of development, which is the communication and language. So if they have delayed in the communication and language, they have less opportunities to yes, if they have delayed in their communication and language, they would have the opportunities for children to learn and communicate with adults, with another children, sharing stories, joining discussion. All this may be affected. And also their opportunity to join other children in their play, in their language, in their communication, role play, all this will be affected as well because the child might not be able to take part. Also, the opportunities to develop their social skills because this child may be not able to communicate with others. So all this would affect their communication and language. Also, their personal and social emotional development. This area, how this area will be affected if the child has got any special needs. They would have less opportunities to play with other children and develop their social skills, maybe rejected by others. Also, they have less opportunities to learn new resources, materials. Maybe they would have lack of confidence. They will have low self-esteem. They wouldn't be able to participate in the new activities. It all depends on the child. Also, the opportunities to develop their physical skills. So why? Because the child will feel unwanted. He will feel that the other children wouldn't want to play with him because he's not as healthy as other children. That will make him feel frustrated, make him feel unsatisfied. Maybe he would use any other resources which is like not sharing resources that other children would use. So that will all make him unhappy or make her unhappy.
And also most likely to be bullied by other kids.
Could be, yes, exactly. Could be get bullied, could be feeling rejected by other children because he's not able to do same tasks like them. Exactly, well done, thank you. So now describe factors which affect children's development in a short term and in a long term. Can you think about any factors that would affect the child development? Long term and short term.
It could be genetic or environmental.
Yes, like in the short term.
Environment can affect the children's development.
Mm-hmm.
Temporary.
So we have illness and accidents. We have in the short term, and we have changes in home circumstances, and we have transitions. So can you talk about any of these factors? Can you tell us about these factors? So first of all, we have in a short term how this affect the child. We have illnesses and accidents. So the child may have in a short term something could affect his life. Let us say he suddenly has got any chronic disease or any which the like any illness or any condition that the parents maybe didn't notice from the beginning. So how that would affect the child? First of all, may not have the child if he's ill. Let us say the child has got
Maybe
asthma.
they couldn't go to the school or the nursery because of the illnesses.
Very good. So let us say the child has got asthma. Let us just take something simple, illness or any in a short term, how that would affect the child. The child wouldn't have enough energy to play. Their social development will suffer. They might not be able to move if he's ill. Also, they might miss, as your colleague said, lots of classes. They wouldn't go to the nursery every day. They wouldn't learn as much as others learning. They maybe feel a little left out because all the children are going to the nursery every day while he's not able to go because he's ill. He's sitting at home. So all this is affecting on the short term. Also, like for example, on these illnesses like chickenpox. So if the child has got this, he will be absent from the nursery or the school for a couple of weeks. That would affect the child. He wouldn't be feeling happy. He will feel frustrated. He wouldn't be developing like others, and So all this would affect the child. Also the socializing, because he wouldn't be seeing children for a while. So when he goes back, he will be a bit shy. He wouldn't be able to straight away start building relationships. So all this might affect the child in the short term. If they feel unwell, even their concentration, they wouldn't be able to concentrate like others. They wouldn't be able to join activities. All this would affect the child. How about changes in home circumstances? So children, they might have changes in their home circumstances, which affect their development in the short term. So maybe the child will have anything in a short term, and will be then the child will show unwanted behavior. They will become unsettled when he see, let us say, his parents are fighting, or so the child will feel unwanted, will feel unsatisfied, unsettled. Thus may affect the child development. He wouldn't want maybe to play. Instead, he will be maybe withdrawn and sitting in his or her room and doesn't want to talk to his parents. So all this would affect the child development. Even here it says, you can take some example from table 313, number 1, which we just discussed. So the illnesses, this is if you talk about a little bit longer term, like all the illnesses that it happens to the child. But in general, home circumstances will be any changes. Like, let us say his parents are separating for a while and not want to talk to each other. So this child will feel very unsatisfied, very unhappy, withdrawn, not cared for by his parents. Also, we have the transition that might affect the child development in the short term. So can you tell me anything about the transition? So here I have, you can talk about all these in the graph. So changes at home, they gave us some good examples. For example, birth of his siblings. So the child might have a sibling, and then he can see all the attention going to his younger sister or younger brother, and he will feel unwanted and unsatisfied. Or maybe they move house. So in a short term, this would affect this child. Why? Because he will leave all his friends behind. He will leave his nursery. He will not be able to communicate back with them. Also change to the parents' working. So if for example, if suddenly the parent is going 9 to 5 and he or she changed their job to night shift. So this child wouldn't be able to see his parent all the day, because he will be in the school in the morning, and the night that the parent would be at work. Or maybe a visitor or family member coming to stay with them. Maybe his grandmother lives with them. That will change his life. Let us say that they took his room to give it to this grandmother. Then the child will have something changed in his life. If it is positive or negative, this will affect the child development. Also, as we said, we have transitions. So the third one is the transitions. But when we studied transitions, what are they? What type of transitions? We studied so many transitions before in different units. Can you remember what are these transitions could be?
It should be moving hometown.
Yes, very good. So transitions could be the family moved home somewhere else, or they maybe took the child to new setting. Maybe they found somewhere cheaper, so they moved the child from his nursery to another nursery. That would affect the child development. Also, another transition, maybe anything could happen, like his teacher left the school, or so all this would affect the child development. So the child will become more clingy, more less sociable. He will be wanting his parents to stay with them, make more attachment with them. And maybe that would affect him or her making new friends during this process, developing, because they wouldn't like to be part of the group of the children. So maybe he will be, or she will be, playing alone. That would affect their child development. Long term, how these changes would affect the child in the long term. So as you see, we need to go to table number 4. So I'm just going to go to table number 4. Okay. So in the long term, it's different. So for example, chronic health condition like the asthma, diabetes, epilepsy, how that would affect the child development. So the child will feel tired, maybe prevent him from joining other children. He wouldn't be able to run, he wouldn't be able to do certain activities. Maybe the child wouldn't go to school for a while, and that would affect him in the long term. Why? Because if he misses lots of classes, maybe he wouldn't learn how to count from 1 to 20. Maybe he wouldn't learn how to do letters. And then when he go to school, he will find it very difficult afterwards, because everyone else knows everything and he's just starting from scratch. So that would affect him in the long term. Also, frequent absent may result in a less opportunity to make friends. So the child always absent. When they go back to the nursery or to the school, they find it very difficult, because everyone working in a group and having fun, and while him, no one wants him because he's always absent. Also, the frequent absent may result in the child missing loss of learning, missing out. As we said, when they go to the school, they will be not as developed as others. They would find it difficult to join other children as well. Also, we have another factor, which is divorcing. So if the child parents not separating for a while, separating forever, or divorcing, so that would affect the child in the long term. It's not going to be they are just fighting today and tomorrow they will be fine. No, they're divorcing. So that would affect him or her in the long term. So the impact on the children development depend on whether the separation was hostile, or they were fighting a lot and swearing at each other, or it was just a normal process where they just moved different houses, and he will feel or she will feel that they miss one of the parents because they left home. So all this would affect the child development. It depends on how it affected. Also, the divorce or the separation, that will bring the child confidence down. They would feel frustrated. They will feel unhappy, unsatisfied. Why me? Why not any other people? Why my parents are? So they will feel unwanted, that his parents, they don't want him. They just separated and left him. and this will impact on the concentration of the child, because this child will go to the school, to the nursery or to the school. They will have no concentration. He will or she will be thinking about the fighting all the time. So that will affect the concentration of the children and how much they are interested to play, to share others. Maybe they would be withdrawn from others because they feel differently. Also, we have bereavement. So if the child suddenly lost one of the parent, they passed away, like a mother or a father or someone who's really, really close to him, like grandmother or grandfather. So when the child lose a close family member or friend, or maybe his another friend in the school or in the nursery just died, so all this would affect the child development. He would lose interest in playing. He wouldn't be happy, positive. He would be very negative and very sad and miserable. Their concentration would be affected. Also, they will become clingy and wants to be close to his parent. Doesn't want to play with others. Less settled, less concentration. They would be very emotional. They would they would miss on loss of social opportunities to develop. So all this would affect the child development. So now analyze how personal experience, values, belief impact on the professional practice of early years practitioner. So how your personal experience, values, belief could impact on the professional practice. So let us go to 2.2, 2.1. So can you tell me how that might affect? So let us go to the personal experience. How might affect the child development?
Children behaviors can change. Like their behavior is not acceptable.
Yeah, so for you, how that the personal experience, your personal experience, how it is affecting you as a child education person or as child practitioner, how that your personal experience would affect it. So each one of us will have different personal experience. So this personal experience has shaped us, yes? So each one of us is different. Why? Because what we go through life. Okay, so all this, even without us being like, without us realizing, that would affect the way we move, the way we do things, the way we communicate. All this being affected by like all this effect. For example, as you can see here, we have so many examples, like moving home several times during the childhood. This might be more empathetic towards. So let us say for me as a person, I moved from my country to another country, and then I came to the UK, and now UK is my country, and I moved from so many places. So if I work with child and I feel he's been or she's been moving from too many different places, and he's not satisfied with that, I would feel for them. Why? Because I've been in the same situation. Yeah, so that's why you might be more empathetic towards the child that their family moved so many times to too many areas. Why? Because for me, if I moved from so many areas, I lost so many friends, I lost so many things I liked in every one of these countries. So I feel sorry for this child. I will be more empathetic towards them and their family and the way they moved so many times. On the other hand, for example, if you've been bullied in the school, as a, like for you as a person, if you've been bullied in the school, you might be overreact if a child being bullied in front of you. Suddenly, a child will be bullied. You would be very angry, overreacting because you didn't like it when you were a child, and suddenly another child in front of you being bullied, so you will be overreacting. For example, you will be overreacting to 2 years old being took a toy from another child from their hand just because he can. The other child is very young. So you will be overreacting. You will be really angry about that. You don't think this is a child and his like mental ability wouldn't be very developed. So you would forgive him, maybe talk to him. You may be overreacting to the situation. So some of these personal issues, maybe we can't undo it, maybe we can't treat it, but it is important to recognize the potential impact of our behavior on the children is very important. So each one of us has to think about their personal experience and be more empathetic towards the children. Don't assume that the children would have same circumstances. They might feel the same way. So we need to be empathetic towards the children. So is this understood? So first of all, personal experience. Let us say, now I just want to give you an example. When I was a child, I got attacked by a dog, and it was very, very scary. So now when I see any dog near a child, I will react to this. I'll be very, very scared. I would just want to separate the both of them. So same here. So personal experience would affect on the way you treat the children, either positively or negatively. So positively, like as the book gave you example, that some of us moved a lot around the country or from another country to another country, and then this impact the way how you feel about the child when they got a transition and moved home. So you will be more empathetic towards the child. So that's impact it in a positive way. Sometimes it could be in a negative way, like the book gave you example of the child of you being bullied as a child. So you would really overreact if you see any child being bullied by another children. You don't think they are children. It's fine. You can just talk them through, make the other child feel sorry and give back what he took forcibly. For you, you might overreact, you might shout at this child just because he's bullying another child. So what we need to do, we need to monitor our behavior and think about the impact of our personal experience on the situation, and try to be empathetic towards the children and not make our past experience affect the way how we feel about certain situation. Also, we have our values and beliefs. So each one of us will have our personal experience. So this would affect the way how we communicate with children, the way we were raised, the community we come from, the society, how we grow up. All this will shape us, will shape the way we treat others, how we communicate with others. Some of us very kind, some of us little bit less. So it depends on how we grow up, our values and beliefs. And so while the impact of our personal experience can be easy to pin out, so it's easy to see how we act is following our personal experience, that might not be spotted about our values and beliefs. So the impact, it is really harder to recognize the impact of our values and belief on the child, on the way we act with the children. So why? Because like many of us will live in the community for quite a while, so we do realize that this community has shaped us, our belief, our values, the way we act. All these things, it seem to be normal to us. Why? Because we do every day. This is the way I brought up. I'm gonna do it all the time. This is my values. So I wouldn't spot the things I'm doing wrong. Why? Because I'm just get used to it. It seems to me normal. So even sometimes we question the impact on our practice. Why this has happened? That's okay. That's normal. While for others, it's not normal. Yeah. So that's why our values will shape the way we deal with certain situations. A good example of this, as you can see here in the book, many children, like years back, had married parents, while today maybe a single mom would bring up lots of children. So for adults growing up with in the previous era, they will feel that the single mom is not a good practice. Why? Because in his generation, they didn't have this. They had all their people should be married before they bring up children. So he wouldn't understand why this woman stayed a single mom with lots of children, and then will be very challenging to like they will have challenged value about family life, which is not ideal, obviously, because like in our society, everyone is free to do whatever they like to do. But he's from different generation, look at this situation as wrong. Yeah. Our values and belief could affect the way we act with others. So now, identify the requirements of current legislation in relation to inclusive practice. Do you remember, was the legislation according to the inclusive practice? Do we know what's the inclusive practice? Do you remember? I just said it to you, like the inclusive practice is mean come on. No one remembers. So what's the legislation would affect the inclusive practice?
We should make sure that everyone is included in the activity, and is disabled or not.
Very good. Excellent.
The health and safety of the kids as well.
And which kind of legislation would affect that? So let me, because here it says 2.4, I opened already 2.4 for you so we can remember the legislation. I'm going to send it after the class so you don't look for 2.4 straight away. You need to go to, where is it? It's here. So this is 2.4, inclusive practice. Where is the legislation? Oh. Let me just enlarge it. So this is legislations that affect the inclusive practice. First of all, we have Equality Act 2010. How this legislation affect the inclusive practice? So Equality Act replaced previous legislations. So it bans any unlawful discrimination, help us to treat everyone as equal. So we respect the people's differences. So all earlier settings, they follow this statutory voluntarily. How that happens? Because like we need to protect give all the children same opportunity, no matter their age, their disability, their gender, their even for normal people, like for their marriage, for the staff, if they are married, if they are on civil partnership, pregnancy, maternity leave. We don't differentiate between people and depend on their race, on their religion, on their sexual orientation, whether they are gay, lesbian. We treat everyone the same. We give them same opportunity. So that one, number one, affect the inclusive practice. Why? Because we want everyone to be included in our activities or in our policies. Also, we have the Special Educational Need and Disability Act 2010. What is this all about? That the Special Needs and Disability Act is supported by Special Educational Need, SEN code of practice. And all the it supports the child right with disabilities to have a normal development like anyone else of the children. So what we need to do is we give them a good opportunity so they can develop as much as other children. We give them more support. So they extra support to enable them to develop. Also, we have another legislation, which is the Special Educational Need Code of Practice 2002. So the Special Educational Need Code has the following principle, which is, first of all, a child with a special need should have his or her own needs met. So if the child is deaf, for example, we should create certain activities doesn't involve that this child listen, or maybe we can watch a video, or maybe we can play certain activities, do some activities which doesn't need to have listening, and unless if it's got hearing aid. Also, that's first of all. Second thing, the views of children should be taken into account. So if the child wants to do certain thing, we should do it for him. Or if they don't want, for example, to read books, they want to play, then we help them to play. We shouldn't be enforcing things on the children. Also, the parents have a vital role to play in supporting their children education. So the parents must be seen as like the parents. They could meet local educational authority, other agencies. They all should concentrate that the parents have vital role to play in supporting their children. Also, the children with the special educational needs should be offered full access to a broad, balanced and relevant educational resources. So the children, if they can't do certain activities, we give them all the resources they need so they can catch up on the curriculum, national curriculum, and be educated like anyone else in their age. Also, all yearly earlier setting have a special educational need policy. That's a must according to this legislation, and they should follow it in their nursery. Also, we have early identification, early years action, early years action plus. All these are statutory, must be followed in the nursery. Also, we have the United Nations Convention on the Right of the Child, 1989. What was this legislation all about? As early as a practitioner, we all must know and understand the basic requirement for the United Nations and how we can follow this. So for the children, there are only 2 countries in the world that not signing to the United Nations Convention, which is the USA and Somalia. So we all, like, because we live in the UK, so we have to follow this. We have to follow it. So for us, for example, if we follow this in the childcare, first, children have the right to be with their family or with those who care best for them. So if following the United Nations legislation, first of all, the children must have the right to be with their families or with the carers who's best care for them. Also, children have the right to enough food, clean water, to fully fill their needs. Also, children have the right to an adequate standard of living. The children have got the right to health care. They got the right to play. And they got the right to be safe, not hurt, not injured, not neglected. Disabled children have the right to special care and training. Also, the children must have must not be used as soldiers, and also all cheap workers. Like you know that there is some countries, they use children to do sewing or cleaning, or this is not allowed in the UK. And also, children must have the right to free education, and children must be listened to. We shouldn't enforce our views on the children. Okay, so to answer this question, you need just to do these legislations, as we said. So when you says identify, where is it? Sorry. Identify the requirements of current legislation in relation to inclusive practice. So these are the legislations. It is in unit 2.4. I'm going to send you unit 2.4, even though you have got it already, but it's easier for you. I'm going to send it just after the class. Now, going back to our unit, it says explain medicational and social models of disabilities. So let me go to 3.2. So 3.2, medical and social models of disabilities. So some children may be disabled, and they have professionals who work with them. Let us say the speech therapy, for example, therapist maybe work with some of the children, and that would affect how the society would look at this disability. So traditionally, like in the past, the society has viewed disability as being labeled as a medical model. So the medical model views disability as a problem which needs to be cured or fixed. It has viewed the children with disability as being victims and therefore incompetent. So all this has affected on the way the society would see that the disability. So the main criticism for this model, which is the medical model of working with children, is that the focus is always on the disability rather than the child themselves. So we just focus on the disability. We think, okay, this child cannot hear, then we should do this. The child cannot do this, then we don't focus on the child, what they need, what they want. So the medical model is not good enough. Why? Because we don't focus on the child. This model also has been blamed for underachievement. Why? Because we don't give the child enough opportunities. We focus on their disabilities only. So we educate this child separate from other children. How about the social model? So if we want to check what's the social model and how it is impact on the disability. So nowadays, the way we do it, the society starts to view disability differently. So the model has been changed from the medical to the social. How that happened? Because of the inclusive practice. So which is the social model of disability. So we focus on the child. We put them in the center of our work. And rather than just look at their disability, we look at the child on its own. And we focus on what the child wants, what the child needs, what's the barrier in front of this child. We prevent which prevent him from achieving what he would like to achieve, and then we work on it. So and then there is a society surrounding this child, the environment, the way we work with the child. All this will enable the child to live normally. So this model argues that the society, that disability, the disabled children the society create these things to stop the child from achieving what they want to achieve. So, for example, if we don't put a ramp in the nursery for the wheelchair-bound children to access to the nursery, we are preventing this child from being part of this nursery. From if he's or she is not able to access, then they would not learn. Maybe we are the only nursery in that area. So according to this model, that the society is creating the disabilities, even though the child born with them, but we can provide resources for this child to live normally. If we don't provide it for them, so we are making this child disabled. So creating this ramp would make the child access to the same nursery like anyone else and have fun taking part in the learning. Also, for example, not providing computer programs to children. That would affect the child learning. So we as a society are not supporting the children development. We are creating this according to this model. So this model of disability has been very influential, has promoted changes in the legislation, and in the education for the children with disabilities. So the language used to describe disabilities has been changed following this model. And for example, suffering from, we don't use it anymore. It's replaced by living with. So, for example, we say this child suffering from certain any illnesses. Let us say he's suffering from asthma. Yeah, why this is in the past. According to this social model, we say he's living with asthma, so it's different. We change the way we talk about disability or medical condition. So it's totally different now. However, the like anyone who is leading on the campaign for the disability still look at the society and want to create more changes to consider disabled children as normal, provide more resources for them, provide things to not disable them. So now evaluate inclusive practice in relation to current framework for children from birth to 7 years old. So how we evaluate inclusive practice. As you can see here, we need to go back to 2.4 to evaluate the inclusive practice. Okay, from you either go back to 2.4 or go to table 5. So I'm just going to go to table 5 on my original unit, which is 3.13. Okay, so we need to evaluate inclusive practice in relation to current framework. So what's the inclusive practice including to the framework, highlighting some key issues? For example, physical environment. What's the impact of this on the children? So while in the setting are required to make reasonable adjustment, some settings are unsuitable for the children who have, for example, mobility needs. This is what when we talked about the ramp. If the nursery doesn't have a ramp, then it's not suitable for the children. Or also, for example, can you give me some examples that some of the nurseries are not suitable for the children? If, for
Nursery,
example,
you
Unless
children.
so say again, just your voice breaking up.
He said some nursery using Makaton and sign for children who have difficulties in speaking communication. So if
Yes, we did.
yeah, if this service is not accessible, so the nursery is evaluate the child disability.
Very good. So, for example, if the nursery doesn't have outdoor area, that would affect the child physical development. If the nursery doesn't have if the nursery doesn't have a ramp, then not all the children will be able to join this nursery. Why? Because some of them are sitting on wheelchair. So it depends. That's how the environment could affect physical. The physical environment could affect the child development. Also, we have the training. So for the setting to be inclusive, adult working in the setting need to have the knowledge, the training. They need to be qualified to understand what's inclusive practice. In some nurseries, adults may not always know what's the inclusive practice and how they work inclusively with children, and that would affect the child development. Also, we have adult input. So many children with additional needs require more adult input and time and effort. So while the setting may have additional funding, additional to support the children with significant medical or biological needs, many settings maybe not have the fund. Maybe they have very low staff rate, and that will impact the effect of the nursery carers on the children, because they cannot. The nursery would not be able to afford paying all these additional adults for special needs. Then they wouldn't take any special needs. So that would affect the child development, because if this is the only nursery where close to his house or her house, then this nursery does not have enough resources to employ people to take care of special needs, then this child education will suffer. We have a curriculum outcomes. So what's the curriculum outcomes? Many adults working with children are concerned that the curriculum outcome at the end of the early years framework or at the end of key stage 1, and are hinders to inclusive practice. So the expectation given are one size fits all and not necessarily flexible, because for us to be inclusive, we need to be flexible so we can monitor the children's needs and we work flexibly so we can suit everyone. While if the adult are following very strict curriculum and we are not what's the word, flexible, that would affect the child development, because not all the children are on the same educational stages. They might have some of them fast learners, maybe slow learners. So if we stick to the curriculum and we don't monitor the children's needs, that would affect the children's learning and developing. Now, identify additional needs in relation to expected stages of development. So what's this children additional needs in relation to their expected stage of development? So let me go to 4.1. So what's the children additional need expected stages of development? Can you think about how to answer this question? So for you, when you work with children, you need to understand the children's need so you can support them properly. Is that correct? You can't just give one exercise fits all and expect the children will develop. No, you need to understand the child development. You need to understand if they need any additional support. So for us as a practitioner, how we can recognize that this child needs additional support? If this child is, yes?
Observe during the day, writing observation videos. Our
Very good, very good. So we need to observe the children. That's amazing, very good. So for us to check if they have any additional needs, we need if they or maybe they show expected development, then we need to monitor them, compare them to the children in their age group. For example, here they have in the book a child who is 3 years old. You need to compare him to another children in his age or her age. If he's not talking clearly, even though the other children in his age are communicating very well, then we spot there is some learning difficulties. And we identify that there is some additional needs here for this child, and maybe we provide them with additional support. It depends what we need to speak to professionals, and if it is necessary, like the speech therapist, the doctor, the nurse, we understand the situation and then we can act on it. So without this recognition, would be very difficult. Why? Because the child become increasingly frustrated. He's not learning like others. He's not moving like others. He's not developing like others. And for us, we don't monitor him. We don't watch him. We don't act on it. And that will affect the child development. Okay, so for us, we need at all times to identify the child additional needs, and then so we can act on it accordingly. So as soon as they pass 2 years old, we start monitor their progress, their moves, their talks, their socializing, and we start writing some reports about the child. And we can spot the difference if we compare him to other children in his age stage. We can see if he's progressing like anyone else. If he's not, then he might have some learning difficulties, and in this case we need to act on it, ask professionals, and getting more ideas about how to deal with certain situation, and include this in our care plan. Now 4.2, it says describe the reasons for early intervention when meeting children additional needs. So why we would be intervening, or we would be what's the word? Like if the child has got additional needs, why we would be interfering, why we would be checking, what's the reason?
I think as early as possible, you find out that the child have additional need. So if you help him as early as possible, it's good for him to progress because he's still young. Yeah.
Very good, very good, because they are still young. We can have a lot to do before they grow up with this problem, and if we don't take care of it now, this problem will escalate later on. Maybe he wouldn't learn at this stage. Then when he she goes to school, they wouldn't be able to follow up like anyone else. Then they would leave school. That would affect them negatively. So for us, over the past few years, we start recognizing more the child additional needs. We identify them while they, as soon as possible, while they still young, and we have to interfere to start checking, start doing something about them. Why? Because we need the child to progress quickly to extend their development delay. And why? Because this development, if it has been delayed, would reduce the child progression and will affect them in the future. So there are so many reasons. For example, if the child has got additional needs which we are not taking care of, that will affect the child behavior. They will be withdrawn, they might be negative towards others, they might be aggressive with others. Why? Because they are not developing very well, and they or also the child are likely to be misunderstood by the society. They think, oh, why this child is pretending, for example, while he's just has got some physical or some additional needs which we haven't looked at thoroughly, or for example, a child with autism. If the parents wouldn't recognize it, that would be a problem. Why? Because the society would think that why this child is acting weird, while he just has got medical condition, and we should just take care of him, give him extra support, extra help, and we'll be fine. So for us, that's why it's very important to check it from the beginning. Any delay, any difficulties, rather than leave it to escalate and progress, we need to stop the effect, start giving them a proper treatment, which would suit their disabilities, and then they can progress like any other children in their age. Okay, so 4.3, explain strategies for early intervention. So give us some strategies for early intervention. As we said, we can interfere, we can take apart, monitor. We said, first of all, we need to observe and assess the children. Yeah, so for us as people, as practitioners, it's very important to check the child, check on their development, monitor them since they are 2 years old, and compare them to others. So if we see any child who's less developed than other children in his same age, then we have to spot that there is a problem and we need to work on it. That's why observation is very important. Also assessment. So for us, observation is about watching, monitoring the child, noticing if there is for us, by observing the child and assessing them, we also can check whether this child have any slow development in any area. They might not be disabled, they may be also slow learners, or so all this we can spot it when we observe the child. And also we can observe if they have additional need. Maybe we can give them additional support. So a good example of this, as you can see here in the book, if we observe a child who's 4 years old, tend to play alone and become frustrated when other children joining in with his play. So if you keep monitoring this child, you will realize that this child has got special needs, and with his social skills. It might not be physical, it might not be medical, it might be social skills. Maybe he just would like to be on his own all the time. So he's got some certain areas where we need to give him extra support and extra help. So first of all, we said how we do the stages of early years intervention. First of all is observation and assessment. Second thing is monitoring and tracking. So as well as the observation is important, assessing the child and also assessing the child development in the earlier setting. We have monitoring the children, so over a period of time. So observation will happen now and on this moment. Monitoring is when we observe them for much longer time. That's monitoring the child. We check the progress every day, and we keep tracking this development. Did he do this today? Did she do that yesterday? How much they developed from a month ago or a year ago. So this is all monitoring and also tracking. So this helps the adult to recognize that the children, the rate of progress, is he progressing 10% every year? Is he progressing 20%? If you compare it to other children, 100% developing, the child is 50%. So we give him a rate for the development, and then from there we take it and to compare him with others. And monitoring and tracking. So children progress are impact on sometimes children who are new to the setting. So if the children are new to the setting, you look at them and think, oh, they are sitting alone. They don't want to interact with other children. They don't want to do this. They don't want to do that. You need to recognize that these children who are new to the setting may appear not to show any expected development. Why? Because you think it's normal. That's all right. This child has been here for 2 days. It's fine. While if he stays or she stays for longer, let us say a month, then you start expecting a better development. Why? Because this child will have friends and make relation and start talking and communicating. If they don't, then there is a problem. Yes, with their development. So then you can realize that this child has got additional needs. And as we said, if he's just a new one, you might not realize it, but then after a month, you can realize that you maybe give him more support, more. You have targets for the child to see whether he can achieve it or not. You give him certain activities. And if he wouldn't be able to achieve after a month or so, then maybe you refer this child to a professional. Maybe this child needs extra support, extra help. And maybe he's got some disabilities, but the parents didn't notice that. So after that, maybe a couple of months, then definitely you need to ask professionals to be involved in the child progress. You need maybe extra adult to support the child activities, because your help is not working. You need extra opinion, extra support to help the child progress. And so this professional will suggest lots of things for you or for the parents to do in order to make this child acting close to the other children in his age group. Also, another thing which is the strategies, which we use to for early intervention, which is working with other professionals. So not only as monitoring, not only as observing, we need to work with other professionals. So once it's been recognized that then this child would need extra support, extra help, then we need to speak, to work in partnership with, for example, to speak to a doctor, to speech therapist, to a nurse. It depends on who's needed at this stage. Also the parents, we can work closely to the parents. So we can all decide what's best for the child and how we can support them to develop, to explore, and to progress. So for us as a practitioner, we need permission from parents to communicate with other professionals. Any nursery would not be able to communicate. Let us say one of the children is not learning as much as others. His language level is very low if you compare him to other children. I wouldn't be able to straight away go directly to the speech therapist and ask for help and support. I need permission from the child parents. So for me, or for the nursery where I work, we cannot create a direct referral. What we normally, what we should do, we should ask the parents for to to signposted. We send them a letter, so they sign it to the GP. Maybe they should ask their own GP or the child GP, and then this will be making a referral. So the GP will do the referral. We need permission from the parents. The parents, they need to speak to the child GP. Then the GP will make referral to other professional who's much more can help the child progress. So in most areas, once this referral has been received, then the child will be assessed, and then will be offered extra support, extra advice, extra resources, and so the nursery can support the child in their progress. And so, for example, here we have the occupational therapist. They will monitor the child, review their progress, and they will give us their opinion in later date. Then we can know exactly how to treat this child and what's the best option to help them progress. Another strategy to intervene with the child progress, which is individual education plans. So for us as a practitioners, we give additional support. If the child has got additional needs, we give him or her additional support. So the early years setting or the nursery, they all have individual education plan to every child. This educational plan would go with the child when they progress to the school. So all the information about the child development will be there. So in the short term, for the nursery, the goal is for each child, they will have short term of strategies that could be achieved and to help the child make progress. These plans are like when the nursery would put these plans will be in partnership, work in partnership with the parents. So they discuss the child's situation, they go through certain points, and then they can draw or write the care plan for each child. And also they can communicate with other professionals if needed. So for example, as we said, the doctor, the nurse, or speech therapist, or any other, or occupational therapist. So it is usually a responsibility of earlier setting or school, if there is any special educational need child, to coordinate meetings, to create meetings, monitor the child progress, the plans, the individual learning in a short term, and put new goals. If you achieve all these goals, then maybe put new goals for the new coming months and try to follow them. Another strategies to intervene with the child's special needs is a statement of additional needs. What's the statement of additional needs? In some cases, children with additional needs, they maybe have like their case maybe meet with significant funding in a place. Like there is funding for certain disabilities. So maybe his case would match this. So not only we offer him support, but maybe also the government will pay us funding to take care of this child. Yeah, so there is a special called the statement or educational of educational needs need to be filled. So, for example, if the child has got complex needs, not only normal needs, maybe the child has got a bit more requirements, significant help they need. So, or lots of range of assessment needs to be done for the child, or different professionals need to be contacted. So this will make the child situations a bit more complex. So how can we keep track of this? We need a statement of additional needs. So the child needs on how they can be supported are all documented, if approved. And so the local authority is require the nursery. So they give us fund to the nursery. If we have a child with significant additional needs, then the council would give the nursery more money to support this child. Then in this case, we need a statement so we can write exactly how the child progressed, who's helping the child. We need to put all these goals. So this all the progress called statementing, but it's all to it's all about the progress of the support. How many people supporting him? Who's involved? How was the goals we have for the child? All this need to be documented. As long as there is a huge amount of funding for this child, then all this need to be documented. If the child has got also special and complex needs. So if the child has got complex or special needs, they would create another document for them called Education, Health and Care Plan. So we can write about the child progress and what their issues and how we can work on it. So now evaluate the principle of working in partnership with others to meet children's additional needs. So what's the principles of working in partnership? For us as practitioners who work in a nursery, we work in partnership to support the child special needs. Even like why? Because the child might not show any expected development. We monitor the child, we observe them after they are 2 years old. If the child is not progressing like other children in his age group, we compare them. And if he's not progressing, then we have to work in partnership. First of all, we need to work in partnership with his parents because they are the closest to the child. They can give us lots of significant information about the child development. And also we need to work closely with other professionals like doctors, nurses, and so on. So we need to look at the signs of the emotional insecurity in the child. Look at spot targets. We support the child if they are not learning or progressing well. We look at their language. If it is not progressing well, then we have a speech therapist we need, or a psychologist if this child has got some complicated issues. So we need to identify the child needs by working with them, getting close to them, and then we support them effectively. So we work with the parents to get all the information we need from them, and we exchange information. We give them information as well. And also we work with the professionals. So the professionals can help the children with their additional needs. And it's very important for us as a practitioners to remember not to be allowed to refer children to another service without parental permission. So without the parents' permission, we wouldn't be able to refer the child to any professional, and wouldn't be able to work in partnership with them. So why? Because we monitor the child confidentiality. We respect working with others. So for me, I respect working with other professionals. If I'm not satisfied by what some of the professionals told us about one of the children, I shouldn't bypass him to another professional. We should respect what the professional, what other professionals, the way how they work. Sorry, just 1 second. Okay, and also we recognition that other professionals may not share our aims or way of working. So I wouldn't be changing the professionals just because I'm not satisfied with what they told me. Why? Because the new professional maybe not be able to share aims with us, maybe not be able to work in the same way that we used to it, and then would be very difficult. Also, the accuracy of information is important. So if we work with the professionals, we need to make sure that information is accurate. And also the punctuality in terms of attending meetings, providing information, all this important when we work in partnership with other professionals or others. So now identify the individual needs of children in all settings. So how we can identify the individual needs for the children in their own setting. In your own setting, actually, you know what? This is because when you see in your own, it's mean you talk about your own experience. So this, if you answer this question, can you please answer it saying you talk about yourself? So here, when is this part of, yeah, I should have put this in very reflective, but that's fine. We can still answer it. So the way I answer this, I will be talking about my experience. So how can you identify the individual needs in your own setting, in your nursery? So I start talking about myself. I say, in my nursery, I always monitor, I always observe the children. After 2 years old, I need to check on the children progress, make sure they are progressing well, compare them to other children in their same age group, write information in their care plan. And I need to check if these children needs extra support or extra help. If they are not progressing well, like other children in their same age group, then I might have to start checking with the parents. Maybe they have some delayed in certain areas of development. Then I can check if they have any special educational needs. I need first to speak to the parents, take their permission, get first from them all the information they have about the child, discuss if this child has got any special educational needs. if there is, maybe then I can take their permission to speak to a professional, like a speech therapist or a doctor. It depends on the child's situation. And then we can work all together to for the child benefit. As soon as we become aware what the type of development issues that the child has, we put strategies about how to go over this and how we can support the child, give them extra support and help. We need to make sure that, first of all, we need to make sure, because I'm saying we, no, I should say I, because it's reflective account. As soon as you see your own setting, that's mean talk about yourself. So as soon as I spot any additional needs for any child, then I contact his or her parents, discuss the issue with them, see if they have noticed or spotted any additional needs as well. And then I can take their permission to speak to so that the nursery can contact directly a speech therapist or a doctor to get more support and advice according to the child's situation. Even this tool says plan activities in partnership with others in meeting children additional needs. This one, because it says plan, so that's meaning you got to plan it yourself. Plan activities in partnership with other to meet the children additional needs. So this is another reflective. If you don't want to do it, it's fine, because you will have it in another reflective. But for me, I would do it as well, just to finish it off. So to plan activities in partnership with others, I say, in my nursery, I always monitor, observe the child, the progress. As soon as I spot any problem with the children progress, then what I should do is speak to their parents, and then take their permission, speak to professionals, get more information about their situation and how we can support the child. For example, one day I had a child who's got who I noticed that he's not pronouncing certain letters very well, like other children. As a start, I thought maybe it's a small issue. Then the more I monitored the child, I start understanding that this child has got some learning difficulties, because I was trying to give him lots of activities to support him, but he wasn't progressing well. Then I had, first of all, to speak to his parents. I arranged a meeting to his parents, and the parents start telling me about this situation, that they have noticed it themselves as well. So I took their permission and I spoke, we spoke to my manager. We both contacted a speech therapist. They gave me certain activities to do, as well as that I planned some certain activities, which is start doing each letter enlarged, wrote it enlarged on a piece of paper, and start doing these letters pronunciation every day for 1 hour to the child, for a matter of 2 months. The child pronunciation developed, because I gave him extra time, start doing this exercise with him. He start picking up, and then after 4 months he start speaking as good as other children because he got more help and support with his additional needs. For example, so you can just create any activities. You can write this one, you can write any other example, up to you, but you need to say, I done that in my nursery, I do this, this is how I done it, this is how we achieved. And then at the end, what happened? The child starts speaking normally like any other children after 4 months from learning extra, from giving him extra support and help. So we finished unit 3.13. Are you happy with what we studied so far about the child special needs? I don't think it's difficult. Or what do you think? Do you want me to repeat any of these?
No.
So I'm happy.
No?
No.
Okay.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So now, if there are just 2 more questions for unit 315, that's why I merged them together, a short unit. So 3.15, it says it's all about the longitudinal studies to observe and assess and plan for the children's need. So what does it mean, longitudinal studies? For example, if you were running, I would run straight down. If you run this way, it's on the length. So it's a different way of doing same research, same studies, but in a different way to get more information. Yes? That's why how you do a longitudinal. So for you as a practitioner, explains how longitudinal study is used as an assessment tool. How you can use this as an assessment tool. Let me just enlarge it. So longitudinal study is a way to observe, assessing the children development over a period of time. It's not going to be one day, not going to be a longer period of time, and I can get more information. I do it in a different way, like I interact more with the child. I do some certain activities in a different way. I just need more information. So, and it takes a little longer than to assess the child. So longitudinal study is a way to observe and assessing children development over a length or a long period of time. There are many reasons why longitudinal study is undertaken. So why do we need to do longitudinal study? So longitudinal study, so researchers use longitudinal studies to look at the child development over a long period of time. They may look at the child in certain geographic areas or with the specific characteristics, specific people, how they act in this situation, how they act in that situation, how they act in their house, when they how they act in their school. So like you study the child in many different situations, and you identify over period of time to check all this information they gained about the child, and they draw a conclusion about the children's health. So they don't study, for us, we study child by child. For them, they study over a long period of time. This could be over 5 years or 10 years. I would study quite a few children or more children. Why? Because I need to understand why they behave in a certain way, why they don't do things on a certain way, if they have certain disabilities, and then how we can work on it. Yes, so for us, longitudinal studies in early years setting are used to develop child development. So we need to study our activities planned and children's development over a period of time. By using a range of observations, of monitoring methods, all this, even the regular observation would help in our longitudinal studies. So for us, children development is very important. So it is very possible to make more accurate assessment for the child, how we can work with this child if we keep monitoring them for a longer time. So this can be used to check if the children are making progress in line with other children, and we compare them to their same age group, to their same stage, maybe stage 1, stage 2. Are they doing the same? Are they progressing well? Maybe they not. If we compare them to others, so this is what we need. We need to not only monitor them, but we compare them to other children in their same age. So longitudinal studies can also assess children progress against the area of learning and development. So for example, we can monitor the child according to the physical development. So we know the physical development, by this age they can do this, by this age they can do that. Then I can compare the child to the physical development area. Is he progressing well? So not only compare him to the children in his age, I compare him to the stage of development. So longitudinal studies can also assess children progress against the area of development within early years foundation stage. And it is important for us, by the time that the children finish the reception year, they should have gained sufficient skills. They have knowledge in counting numbers. They should have knowledge in knowing the letters. They have certain activities they need to know. But if they don't achieve this, then the longitudinal study will also help us to show the particular evidence to officers. When the officers come, they would ask, what did you do about that? We can see some of your children in the nursery are not progressing very well. So what did you do about that? We can say, well, we've done not only observation, not only monitoring, we've been doing longitudinal studies. We've been checking about the child progress, and we can give evidence what we have achieved from monitoring the children, from observing them, from writing all these reports. So this will help the nursery a lot. So now evaluate the benefit of undertaking longitudinal studies for the child, for the early as a practitioner, for the others. First of all, for the child, why do we do longitudinal studies? What that would affect the child, what that will help them. So the child we should always put the child as at the heart of everything. We should always concentrate on the child as an individual. We need to be doing everything to benefit this child progress and development. So by doing the longitudinal studies and the results we can get from it, we should know more about the child and particularly their interest, what they like, what they don't like, how they like to do things. And in the time we can help, this will help us to respond better to them. Because as soon as we understand how they think, how they believe, how we can respond better for them. Also to plan their needs, their interest, good practice. It is a very good practice for them that we follow their needs, make them more interested in coming to the nursery. If we don't follow their child's interest, then the child wouldn't be interested or happy in the nursery. So, for example, talking to them about what they are doing or showing them photographs and that taking of them. For example, when they were babies, we show them photographs like, look, this is when you were a baby. We talk to them, what did you like, what did you not like? We can keep asking them questions just to understand them more. And we can play with them more. So the more we understand the child, this will encourage the children to look at this child, talk to them, and we will provide a written assessment. So as soon as we talk to the child, understand them, get more information, we provide a written assessment. And then we also we compare them to other children. So the more we talk to this child, that will increase their self-esteem. They will feel that they are important. They feel that they are competent. Why? Because they have more progress. Now we know what they like. We provide them with what they like. That will give them sense of achievement, sense of pride. That will help them a lot. So that will develop the child further. How about for you as a practitioner? What this will help you if you do the longitudinal studies? So for the key person, if you are not involved, if you are a key person not involved in a longitudinal study, what that will help, what that will affect you. You wouldn't get information, you wouldn't get knowledge. Yes. So if you are a practitioner, you have this longitudinal studies about the child, that will help you a lot to understand the child, to understand their needs. And but if this longitudinal study is done by another practitioner, the conclusion of this, that from this study can help them to find more about the children for whom they have responsibility to take care of. Also, in such cases, longitudinal study can also provide them with information about for you as an observer, you need this information. If someone else doing it, so maybe this information is not necessarily important to them, but it will help the idea about how children, what's the children's interest, what's their stage of development. In some cases, we have conclusion from this longitudinal study which suggest some certain activities to do with this child according to their interest, according to the way they would like to act. All of this, we will follow it and help the child to progress and progress well. So the longitudinal studies are very, very important for us, help us to understand the children. And so for you as a practitioner who's undertaking the longitudinal study, the child should be observed, and this is by using different range of observation methods over the period of time. You don't observe him today and that's it. This is not enough. This longitudinal study is meant taking longer to be achieved. It's not going to be done within 1 day, not 2 days, longer period of time. And you need lots of information about the child, observation. You can use different observation methods. And this will help the practitioner to gain more information, more understanding, how they can help the child. It will give you a full picture of the child development. So having this longitudinal studies are very, very important. Also will help the professionals, will help others. So for you, if you know exactly the full story, the full picture, then you know whom to contact from the professionals to help the child more. Who also involved in this benefit from the longitudinal study? There are often many adults involved in the child care and education. So for example, the parents. So if you do the longitudinal study, you would get lots of information about the child. Who is also benefited is the parents, because they will have lots of information about their children and how they can act with them and how they can progress them and how can they support them actively. So all this is very important to the parents. Also, the longitudinal study can help the parents and practitioners to work together in partnership. So it's not only helping each person individual, but help us as a practitioners to work actively with the parents and to monitor the child development. So, and then there is evaluation from the longitudinal study. This evaluation can also help the parents, the practitioners, to work together to support the child development at home. So for the parents to know what to do at home, we can give them information because of our longitudinal studies. So this is usually done by key person in the early years setting. Require that this key person to monitor the child over a long period of time, get all the information, ensure that children needs and interests are met and documented, and also good practice for the parents to involve with the assessment of their children. So they need to take part as well, work together as one unit with the practitioners to get more information and check the child progress over a period of time. So this is how others can be benefited from the longitudinal studies. Do we have any question? Because now we finished unit 315 as well. There are just these two questions, no more. The rest is all in the reflective account, which we will be doing as a separate afternoon. But for today, do you have any question about unit 3.15 and 3.13?
No, but Lana, I have a question.
Yeah.
You sent an email, unit 6 and unit 11, but you didn't send any books or question.
No, I sent the question. If you have a look, questions are together in one sheet, and I sent unit. Sorry, let me just stop.